go, my friends. Game Day Live is back tomorrow. 12:30 kickoff. Spurs versus Man United. A super fan from each club is standing by after we get you in a weekend of football Game Day Live mood.
It's glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur. The Europa League is theirs.
Very eager to win more trophies and would like to compete and win.
But the picture changes and unfolds.
We believe more that we can win any game.
And Manchester United, they've won at Anfield.
We just looked that little bit more solid and playing that bit better.
If they do continue on a run, they could finish top four.
Vicky van der Ven, what a run this is. 50 yards, 60 yards. What a goal!
Like we had Lionel Messi turned into Mickey van der Ven. He can keep, by the way, walking past me if he's angry after a game. If you deliver like this.
That's going to be a really good game. It's a new manager trying to set new philosophies, etc. I think there's been a lot of knee-jerk reactions.
Now, we have got two great guests standing by. They've both been on the show before. We've got Chris Cowlin from the Spurs Chat podcast and also Jay Motti from the Stretford Paddock TV channel. But before we get to that, I wanted to say very quickly a thank you to my dad, who's a mad Spurs fan, still with us, thankfully. He's nearly 90 years old now, because he took me to the first football match I ever saw. I was 8 years old. It was September the 10th, 1966, at White Hart Lane, and it was Spurs versus Man United. Dennis Law got the first goal. Spurs hung on in there. It was an amazing game. Alan Gilzean, a deeply underrated striker for Spurs, got the first one for Spurs in the 86th minute. Jimmy Greaves pulled it back just before full time, and it was 2-1 to the Spurs, and it was on Match of the Day that night. And I remember it really clearly. I was allowed to stay out for the first time ever to see Match of the Day, when Match of the Day only ever showed one game. Enough of my wandering down memory lane, and there's no reflection on how tomorrow might go. It's a big game. It's our Game Day Live kickoff game. And here we have Chris Cowlin from Spurs Chat, the great podcast, and Jay Motti from Stretford Paddock. So, while I haven't got a dog in this fight, I feel deeply invested in this one for all kinds of personal reasons, Chris. And Spurs are, at the moment, having a good, compared to last season, domestic season. But you're still a bit erratic, aren't you, if we're being honest?
Yeah, hello, Paul. Thanks for having me on. And I love to hear that story about your dad, because that kind of explains why you've got a nice soft spot for Tottenham.
Well, except he was disappointed, because the previous year at Spurs, you beat them 5-1. So he came away with a face like a smack bum, my dad. Oh, we've gone downhill. Football fans, we're never happy, are we?
Absolutely. Do you know what? Thomas Frank, of course, has come in. He's brought this calmness to Spurs, defensively a lot better. At the moment, we're wondering where the goals are coming from because, of course, Dominic Solanke's been out for the season so far. He'll hopefully come back after the international break. But our home record at the moment in the Premier League is pretty dismal. Since moving in the stadium, we've lost 41 Premier League games since 2019. That's not good enough. European, of course, we won in Europe Tuesday night against Copenhagen. We needed that performance. We needed to see the likes of Javi Simmons really shine in that number 10 role. But it's been okay. We just want to be seeing entertaining football. What I would say is that we have played 5 home games in the Premier League under Thomas Frank. There have been boos in the stadium on 3 occasions due to results and performances, but we just need this 3 points. It's a massive, massive game Saturday lunchtime against Manchester United, but in the last 7 games against them, we are unbeaten, 5 wins, 2 draws. Europa League final, of course, in May, absolutely brilliant. Wasn't a great game, but of course Spurs really needed that trophy. I was actually standing next to Jay in Bilbao doing a media interview, and both of us said that we needed it for our football clubs in order... Hang on,
we're kind of the enemy's fraternising. Was it Christmas 1914? What was going on? That's a great moment to bring in Jay Motti for the Stretford Paddock TV channel. 2 great guests on this morning now. So at the moment, you're on 17... but you're below both Chelsea and Spurs on 17, only on goal difference. Couldn't be much closer. And again, as an outsider, I get the sense something is at long last stirring, maybe coalescing, maybe coagulating at Man United. How are you feeling, Jay, about things?
Well, the last few weeks have been a lot better. Obviously, we've got that big win against Liverpool, and we've put together, I think, a win of 3 wins and a run of 3 wins and a draw, which is much better than we've had under Ruben Amorim. That's the best one we've had under him. It took us a year.
So that poor bloke who looks like Diana Ross in 1971 and still can't get a haircut, can he?
Frank, yeah. I've met Frank, and his banner is just out of control.
Oh, dear,
but, yeah, it took us a year to get to back-to-back Premier League wins, which says its own story. But the real worrying thing about this, obviously, there was the match in Bilbao, the final that we lost, the 4 losses last season to Spurs, the fact that it is 7 games now without a win. Even you referencing them games in the 60s were both Spurs wins. It just feels like they've become our massive bogey team, and it didn't used to be like that. So it is a bit of a worry, but I can take comfort from the fact that we have been in a better bit of form, and despite Spurs obviously battering Copenhagen, they've been bit up and down, to say the least, at home. So it's a good opportunity, I think, this for Manchester United to see where we're at. And if we are moving forward in the way we hope we are, then playing Spurs, who obviously beat us in that final, and beating them will be a good way to sort of show that Ruben Amorim has really got his act together.
That was Jay Motti there from the Stretford Paddock TV channel. Let's go back to Chris Cowlin from Spurs Chat, great podcast. The boos for Thomas Frank, I think, I know it's only a small section of the audience. I know people are sometimes egged on by social media and they feel they can, like answer with a megaphone. But that's not the right way to go about things. They knew, you guys knew what you were getting with Thomas Frank. And actually he's somebody who is patient, maybe not slow, but cautious, and will build a team for you if he gets the chance. Will he get that chance, do you think?
I hope so, Paul. We've been through so many different managers. I know I've been on with you for a number of years, talking about various Spurs games, and we've spoken about all these different managers and the circles that we've gone around in. Yeah. Of course, that trophy win, the Europa League, had to push us on. Of course, Spurs made the change. Postecoglou going out the door, Thomas Frank coming in. Now, we did expect a lot more entertaining football. Now, when you look back at last weekend against Chelsea, we lost 1-0, one of our biggest rivals that we play. You'd expect the players to be up for it. We had 1 shot on target in the entire game.
And that was only in the first half, I think, wasn't it? Nothing at all in the second half.
Exactly. We've gone in 1-0 down. We've come out. We haven't had a shot on target. And the XG that day, 0.05. It was a Premier League record for the lowest XG. Thomas Frank looked embarrassed after the game and actually come out and said, I've never been in charge of a team lacking so much creativity and firepower up front. And that is a big issue. I really do feel like Tottenham need to go out and address that issue. And fair play to Manchester United. They went out in the summer. They bought Cunha in and Mbeumo in, and they've made a big difference at Old Trafford. So the firepower is really lacking at the moment, and Spurs need to entertain the crowd, because the crowd were up for it against Chelsea as soon as that goal went in, and it's fair to say as well, Vicario's kept us in a lot of games in the past few weeks.
Let's go back to Jay though, because Jay, here's a crumb of comfort for you, matey. No team has lost more Premier League home games in 2025. So last season then Spurs, they lost 9 at home. Could be 10 tomorrow, couldn't it?
Yeah, well, obviously I hope so, and that is a record that does give me, like you say, a crumb of comfort. I mean, I just feel like there's no excuses, really. Look, United have been better recently. Chris mentioned Bryan Mbeumo there, who's been fantastic. I think he might have won the Player of the Month, was it, in October? He's sort of showing that player that we saw at Brentford. Cunha seems to have sort of really kicked into gear as well. So there's the players there that can cause Spurs problems. Also, I know we have been conceding a lot of goals, but it's weird at Manchester United. We have conceded a lot of goals, but bizarrely, a lot of our defenders have actually played quite well. I think it's a massive help we've got a new goalkeeper in, because I'm sure you saw the problems that we had with Onana and then Bayern. So that's made a difference as well. So I just feel like you can't make any excuses here. You can say that Spurs are a good team and this, that and the other, and they've just beaten Copenhagen. But ultimately, Manchester United, the players we've got and the fact that there's this awful run we've had against Spurs, it's time to end that. There's no excuses.
Now, your only injury concern, I think, Jay, is Martinez, who's been out for since January, February, I think, with a serious knee injury. He may be close to return. What have you made of Amorim's kind of in-game management and also his starting 11s? Because there have been questions. I've heard lots of phone calls. I mean, no football fan's ever happy. Even if your team wins, they'll phone in and moan about stuff. But there's been this question about whether he's almost too cautious during a game.
Yeah, it's a bit weird sometimes with Amorim, because at times it can go one way, where I think it was against Brentford, where it was like a merry-go-round, where players were just all over the pitch. He was changing it every 5 minutes. You had basically, I think at one point you had Mason Mount at right or left wing back and Bryan Mbeumo in central midfield. It just seemed like a bit of a mess. And then against Forest the other day, he went the other way. He didn't make many changes, and people were looking at it going, Is he going to bring on Mount? Is he going to bring on maybe Kobbie Mainoo? Or what's he going to do, like, attacking-wise at least, to change things? And he didn't really do anything. He sort of left the team almost as it was. So it feels like he's still sort of working out what he needs to do. The difference this season from last season is I think we've actually got some decent options. Yeah. You look at last season where it was Garnacho, it was Rasmus Højlund who was struggling. Obviously, Marcus Rashford went out on loan to Villa. This season, you've got Abumo's flying, you've got Cunha, you've got Mount who's done very well, and even Sesko, who's had his critics, which I found a little bit bizarre, who still managed to bag a couple of goals. So I just feel like now Ruben Amorim doesn't have to tinker with it too much during a game, but he does have options if he does want to change it up.
Let me go now to Chris Cowlin again, old friend of the show, of course, from the Spurs Chat podcast. Chris, you've got a rather longer list of the walking wounded. James Maddison, Kulusevski, Dragusin, all with knee injuries. Dominic Solanke is out, I believe. Also Basuma, Ben Davis, Kota Takai and Archie Gray. And you'll also not be able to play, I think, I don't know how vitally it'd be, but Lucas Bergvall. Luckily, you're blessed with quite a decent, solid squad. And also, I think, a manager who is, almost like a chess player at times. I really admire Thomas Frank's in-game management. So what are your thoughts about who the starting 11 should be? Who should and shouldn't be in that lineup, do you think?
Well, I think Thomas Frank ought to go with the same team that beat Copenhagen on Tuesday. It was a very entertaining performance, and this is exactly what we needed as the fans. We needed an entertaining performance, the 3 points.
Because remind me, how did you get on against Chelsea? How did that... Oh, sorry.
We've already spoken about that. We've moved on.
We've moved on, Nothing to see here.
No, that was an extremely disappointing game. It really, really was. And then that Champions League game, it was so good that we were able to play just a couple of days later without, having a whole week to, be very disappointed with that result.
I don't know if you heard the sports spot that night when Jason Cundy and Jamie O'Hara went, and it was entertaining if you were a neutral or a Chelsea fan, was it not?
Yeah, I suppose. Anyway, this game, your doggy's back in the team. He has been a huge miss. He's back at left back, and he offers so much to the team. Javi Simmons put in a really good performance because he has been heavily criticised since he's signing an arrival because people expected a lot more. Cowlin Mwani up front missed a couple of opportunities, but he laid on a great assist for Odebear. Of course, he got on the score sheet. Brennan Johnson back in the team, back on the score sheet again. So I would play exactly the same team, but I do expect a difficult game. But Spurs are not the Spurs Alex Ferguson used to say to the team, it's only Tottenham.
Now, I know this season is barely a quarter over, but let me ask you a question. I kind of can guess the answer. For both of you, whom would you rather win the Premier League title, Arsenal or Manchester City? You first, Jay.
Well, I'm not too fond of either of those teams, but Arsenal are the lesser of two evils from a Mancunian point of view.
And in the interest of balance, let's go to our mate Chris Cowlin for this one. Chris, so it's Arsenal or Man City. What do you reckon?
Man City all day long.
So we're nothing if not balanced on this show. Sometimes we're unbalanced. We're balanced this morning. Listen, guys, it's prediction time. You get a couple if you like, one from your head and one from your heart. It's great having you back on the programme. Chris Cowlin from the Spurs Chat podcast. You first, matey. What do you reckon? Final whistle blows. What's the score going to be?
With my head, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. But with my heart and with my hope, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win.
I like that heart and hope. OK, so what do you reckon, Jay? Jay Moss's from the Stretford Paddock TV channel.
It's funny because Chris sort of nicked my scores I was going to go with, but from a United point of view. So just to make it slightly different, with my head, I think a draw. I think I'll go with 2-2. I think there'll be goals in it. But with my heart, I think, maybe someone like Mbeumo might make the difference. So I'll go 1-0. It's
going to be a great game tomorrow. Brilliant stuff, guys. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Chris. Chris from the Spurs Chat podcast. Jay Motti from the Stretford Paddock TV channel. And regulars now on this show, old mates of ours. And don't forget, that's live and exclusive nationally on talkSPORT tomorrow. That big game. It's Spurs. It's Man United. It's the only game in town. And you'll hear it right here. So download the app and get involved. We're live this morning, my friends, till 5. Cheers, guys.
Whatever kind of football fan you are, talkSPORT and the Coral Daily Download.